In today's topic, we'll discuss about the exceptional handling in Java. Uh, Mainly, we'll talk about the throw and throws, how to handle the exception using throws, and what are the difference between throw and throws. So, before going to this keyword throw, first try to understand what is exceptional handling and what are the types of exceptional handling. So, the main advantage of exceptional handling is to maintain the normal flow of application. So, if you take any program, like we'll have multiple uh, executable statements, and if error occurs at any line, the next statement might not get executed properly. So what happens if we get any problem or if there is any problem in the statement 4 and if you're not handling it properly, the statement 5 will not get executed. So it will come out of the execution. So the program will end here if there is any error in the statement number 4. So to handle that, we need the exceptional handling. So when we handle the exception properly, what will happen is this will be handled and the statement 5 also will get executed. So this is the main concept of exceptional handling. So in Java, like we mainly handle exceptional handling using the try catch block, and also like we have different types of exceptions. The first one is checked exception, and the second one is unchecked exception, and third one is error. So in short, like checked exceptions are the compile time exceptions. During the compile time itself, it will tell the program if it is not handled. And few examples of checked exceptions are input output exception, SQL exception. And these are caught mainly during the compile time. And unchecked exceptions are caught during the runtime. So when you run the program, during the runtime it will get caught. So the few of the examples of unchecked exceptions are exception, null pointer, and array index point of exception. So they are caught at the runtime. And error, which we cannot handle, but so these are called as out of memory, which cannot be handled during the normal flow of execution. So it's not in the application control. So these are the types of exceptions. But for today's topic, so we'll see only about the throw and throws. So if you see the checked and unchecked, so these are the predefined exceptions. If you see like input output exception, SQL exception, or predefined by the Java. But if we need to throw a user different exception, so we have some method, and while calling that, so we'll do some logic. If we need to call the exception manually, like user defined, using throw keyword, we can achieve that. So this throw keyword will work for both checked and unchecked exceptions and compile and runtime exceptions. So to demonstrate this, let's take an example. So if you see the throw keyword, so we have a method called out, and we are passing the age parameter, and here we have the main class. So the what the method does is it will take the age as parameter, and if the age is less than 18, so we are not eligible for voting. And if it is greater, yes, we are eligible for voting. So in this, if you see, like we are throwing the custom, we are just throwing the exception. If you see here, throw new exception name and a message. So we are manually throwing the exception. So manually throwing, or we can call it as user defined exception. User defined. Now let's run the program. So in the main method, I'm calling the method out. For that, I'm creating the object of class throw exception. So class name, object name, and object dot. So using this object, I'm calling this method out, and I'm passing the parameter 15. So when we call that, it should throw the exception like not eligible for voting. So if you see the exception, we are getting the error message like not eligible for voting. So now like I'm passing the valid parameter. So now eligible for voting, and like the rest of code gets executed. So one more thing, like what we can do with this example is, if you see, even though if you are throwing the exception manually, but it's not handled properly. So what happens after this line number 26, object dot out, after calling this method, the line number 27, the rest of the code is not getting executed properly. So it's coming out of the program. So for that, what we can do is we can just put this entire thing in the try catch block. So what we can do is, so now like we have put the method in the try catch block. So first we'll try if it is eligible for voting, it will print the statement or it will throw the exception. See now what? Okay, so we are passing valid date. Okay, if you see the custom message is wrong, so in the catch block we should print as not eligible for voting. So what happens if we put the method in the try catch block? The error message is not eligible for voting, and even if you see the line number 33, it's being executed like rest of the code. So as we saw here, right? Even though if the problem occurs in the previous line, if we handle it properly, the next statement should get executed. So this is about the throw keyword, and this is called as user defined exception. Now we'll see about the throws keyword, and throws keyword is mainly for the checked exception or the compile time exceptions. So what happens is using the throws keyword, just we are just providing the information to the caller that this might cause a problem so they can handle it properly. So now let's see this in the example like how this throw keyword works. And this can be handled in two ways. One by using the try catch block and the other one using the throws keyword. And this is the throws exception. So here we have a method called divide number and we're passing two parameters like m and n. And so what happens like we'll try to divide the first number from the second number, and there are chances in Java if we try to divide any number by 0 it will be infinity, and in program it will be not handled, so this will cause the arithmetic exception. So just like we are giving an heads up to the caller that this might cause problem if you're not passing the valid parameters. Then in the main class, so what happens to the caller? So using the class object we're just calling. So see, if you see here, just we are putting the method call using the try catch block. So try and object dot divide that number. So we're passing two parameters like 40 divided by 10. So we'll try to call that method. If there are any exception, this will be handled. See, like we are trying to divide 40 by 10, so it will be 4. So now in the second example, like we'll just try to pass 0. Even though if you're passing 0, the number cannot be divided by, so it's handled properly. So just like we are providing information to the caller, so when I try to call a method, so like the method is written by me, and if you are trying to call this method, I'm just giving an heads up to you that this might cause arithmetic exception. So you can directly put that method call in the try catch block. And the other use case is, if you see here, just like we are trying to read a file. So here, if you see the error message like unhandled exception, like file not found. So this is the compile time exception. So the JVM itself has found that this might cause problem since like we are trying to read a file name and this file does not exist. But still we want to execute this program. So what we can do is we know that this will throw error, but we can just compress the error. So just you can put throws exception. So even though we know that it will fail, but still just to pass the compile time execution, just we can use this throws keyword. Now the program is run, but still it failed. So this again you can handle with the help of try catch block. So just to recap, so exception handling is to maintain the normal flow of the application. And again we have three types: checked, unchecked, and error. But for today's video, like we saw about throw and throws. So throws is about the user different exception. So we can call it as user different exception. And throws is just like providing information to the caller that this might cause a problem. You handle it. Yeah, that's all for today. Thank you.